I think, I don't know how you feel, but I feel exhausted. I think it was a very full day, and I hope everybody had the opportunity to take part in the parallel sessions and also a chance to network, look at the posters, and meet our sponsors. And I hope you enjoyed the day. I just want to quickly go over the sessions that took place. We have some rapporteurs here who can give us a bit of a feedback on the day, and we have a few points to make about the events for tomorrow. And I'm just waiting for Mustafa to get it queued up. Okay, so I guess I can start with the mentoring session, mentoring and outreach projects. Marina, if you want to give a quick overview. No, come up here. Oh, or, yeah. Okay, just come up. So if you are a rapporteur for one of the sessions, just please come up here and be prepared to give your report.
Okay, yeah. Well, as you can guess, the mentoring and outreach session was broken into those two parts. So we started with outreach, which actually also went into mentoring, but sort of mentoring kids and inspiring them into going into science. So we started out by just saying that there is no formal working group on mentoring and outreach in MCAA currently, but it would probably be useful. And then we went into actually presenting this book that you might have heard of, a children's book about Marie Curie.
It's My Super Science Heroes is the name of the book.
Yeah. Right, sorry, I forgot about that. It's sort of a reinterpretation of the story of Marie Curie, trying to tell it from a different perspective about her struggles and teaching kids about how to overcome such struggles, like teaching them that they can be creative, they can be persistent. This is nothing that you're born with or you have to rely on being born with, but you can actually learn how to do science. So it's an inspirational book. Yeah, it's published by Source Books that also published a book called, for instance, Quantum Physics for Babies and other good titles. And then there was a speaker from native scientists who spoke about the fact that we need to empower kids with multilingual backgrounds to actually speak their languages. And they're doing this through also inspiring them to perform research. So they're sort of matching kids with scientists, both in schools but also in labs and museums, so that they can learn science in their heritage languages throughout all of Europe. They've initiated a number of different programs where they have sort of STEM plus language workshops where the kids with migrant backgrounds, they get to interact with these researchers, and in the end they found something like 75% of these kids actually recognized that they had learned a new skill through this program, and most of them were also inspired to become a scientist, and I guess this was part of the mission of the program, plus empowering them to keep their heritage language alive. They were saying that there's science saying that a lot of kids are losing their heritage language because they feel ashamed to speak this in an environment which is different. Okay, then we went on to mentoring, and there we discussed the fact that there are probably a lot of questions that sort of the national support structures cannot help mobile researchers with, and therefore mentoring can step in and take that role. So what is a mentor? It was mentioned that the most important skill of a mentor is to be a good listener. Then all of these other traits are, of course, important too: being networked, being accessible, a good communicator, and know how to manage expectations. Then what is a mentee? And this, I think, I found very interesting because you very rarely talk about what is the role of the mentee. And this was described as someone who actually can formulate their problem and their goal very clearly so that the mentor actually knows how to help them. Yeah, and why it matters. Well, I think all of you know why it matters. It can actually help you progress in your career. How many more minutes? Yeah.
2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think I will just wrap up by saying that I guess most of our speakers agree that mentoring and outreach is very important, and I think MCAA should probably start such a program.
You should say. You can say that.
Yeah.
That we need to work on.
Yeah, we should probably work on our mentoring and outreach skills and start a program that supports researchers in this way. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marina. Please, for the rapporteurs, please come up or come over here and be ready to come up if you're here. So, who is representing the career paths for researchers? Okay. I don't have a list. That's fine. I'll just ask the name.
Hello.
Do you want to stand here? This is a much better microphone. Just you can talk.
Hello, good afternoon. So basically career path for researchers were based on personal experiences. Speakers and presented how their career progressed after doing research, after their PhDs. So I'm not going to talk about their personal stories, but some intakes, how to progress. For example, it's very important to consider transferable skills for career development, for example. And also, like, MCAA gives a good tool for that because it's very multidisciplinary and being part of it. And also they're going to introduce Science Link, I think, for organizing transferable skills that will be inside of MCAA to offer its members. And generally, of course, there was ups and downs in every story to find the right path, and maybe to focus on, I mean, like one of the intake was leaving academia because 70% of people who holds PhD or postdoc, they need to leave the academia at some point. So it's kind of to think about changing career at some point, but it's not a failure. At the end of the day, it doesn't represent that somebody's research was not important, but also to consider about these issues when we are planning. Also people shared their stories from academia to different fields, how they got their job and how it found. And one of the intake was like really networking, like speaking with people. So maybe RPI is one of the person, but also it's good to speak with people from diverse fields and diverse areas to understand how things are running and what's coming up and what are the trends and etc. So that would be really helpful not to stay in our box, to get out of the box, to think from different perspective what is going on and what will happen. And it's also very important to like find what we want to do. That was interesting in one of the talk that like going through career fairs, for example, or speaking, then we also find, oh, okay, there is this field that needs to be filled, so I'm interested in that. Sometimes we just also decide how we are going to do things with speaking, and also seeing there's different fields. So it doesn't mean if we were just in the field A and we have to continue, but there are different options, and it really we need to seek for it. And also like how to brand and how to sell our work is very important. So it's not just doing and producing something, but how we are going to sell, maybe like not the right word, but how we market our work, how we do is very important. And of course, talking with the right people. I mean, it's like important to find those right people who would give us really inspiration and ideas and some options to think further. And as I said in the beginning, again, it came to a point, soft skills are very important besides what we do as a research. So that was another thing. I mean, I'm trying to cut short, not to go deep, but yeah, okay. So basically it was like in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, for the researchability session, do we have a rapporteur? Gabor? Was anybody in that session would like to very briefly describe it for us? Okay. Okay. Valerie? Valerie, yeah, please.
Hi. So I went to the session. It was actually really interesting. We heard a number of testimonials from researchers with a disability at different levels in their career, ranging from PhD students to postdoc and also professor. And as a able researcher myself, it was just really interesting to hear a different perspective. And apparently support from your family, and especially their mom, was really key for their success. And in terms of more general policy things, we also heard from what the legal framework is on a European level, and what the MCAA can do to help out. So just a quote from the session would be, if something doesn't work, something else probably will. I feel like that is more general than just for researchers with disabilities, but especially for them. Also, one of the speakers drove over 3,000 kilometers in 33 days with an electric wheelchair, and I think that's pretty amazing. Thank you.
Okay, so behind the scenes of a business venture, and I think Bella is the rapporteur.
Yeah, hi everyone. So the behind scenes of the business venture session was attended roughly about 70 members. We have 5 excellent speakers and all are MCAA alumni. They all have their own businesses. So actually this session was really started like how they move from academic researchers to have a successfully start their own business. Session was first started by Scott Harris. He has his own business called Silinks, where they talk about their transversal skills. And he also gave a business model like how to start your own business, like initial market search, fundraising, and finding a team. And you have your own idea, and then they translate that idea into action. And our second speaker is Julia. She was also a research funding consultant. Actually, she is the one-woman company. I really like that from her talk. And she's actually consulting for many Marie Curie fellowships, helping in the proposal writings and evaluation of the proposals for the MCAA, proposal development, reviewings, and so on. And our third speaker is Mohammed. Actually, Mohammed started his presentation with a question, like, what do I really want to do? And then he also gave, like, if you want to achieve something, you need to be surrounded by people with, a like-minded people. And he also gave one more thing, don't wait for the opportunity, create an opportunity. And his startup is like Leading Voices. It's a pretty interesting platform he's creating. It's an online platform where they're providing several coachings and the training skills, webinars, and et cetera, and et cetera. They also have several groups. And the most interestingly, Mohammed is very happy to offer some free service to the Marie Curie members for 4 days, I believe, 24th to 28th of this month. So if somebody want to follow this Leading Voices thing, then please contact the chair of Austrian chapter. And we also have another interesting business venture from Patricia. She's a marine science consultant. She's actually trying to bridge a gap from the ocean to the society. And her startup name is Oceanogamy. And they're trying to build their ocean responsibility. And she also gave like several burning questions now on the climate change, overfishing, the plastics, and it was pretty interesting startup, and they're doing really a good work there. So if you want to ask more, just look for Oceanogamy. And our last speaker is Francisco, and Francisco started the startup called Rumo. So this is actually basically an online platform for the researchers with mental health. And the most interesting thing with this is there are already some platforms available for the researchers with mental health, but the Rumo actually has a specific way to find a therapist with the same cultural background and also with a language background. This really helps the researchers with mental health to find their issues. Yeah, that's it. So this is the session, and our session is also end up with a very lively panel discussion with this 5 startup people from the MCAA and sharing their successful stories in their journey. That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Bella. And next we have writing an MSCAIF project proposal. And I think we have Uwe. Wait, sorry. Yasmin, excuse me.
Okay, hi everyone. Wrapping up the session on the IF proposals. So it was a kind of double conference between Therese, who's the Austrian national contact point for Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and Julia, who was started as research advisor for Marie Skłodowska-Curie, then went for a career restart project successfully, and also evaluated the individual fellowships. Okay, and we started, so Therese gave an overview on the IFs, and just for those of you who are not familiar to this action, in a nutshell, so it's a program for experienced researchers, meaning having a PhD or at least 4 years of research experience, who want to get funding for a personalized research project up to 3 years in academia or in a non-academic institution, and it can be either within Europe in a broader sense, or even beyond Europe, and then going back to Europe for a mandatory return phase. Okay, so it's bottom up, like all the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and in most cases the nationality is not relevant. Relevant is the mobility of the researchers, so it's really important to move from one country to the other, and there's the famous mobility rule, but I'm not going into the details. Okay, so what's important is also that it's not only about excellent research for the project, but it's about your own career development, and I think that was something like a red thread or a current topic that came across all of the talks, because we had 2 people but several talks. So because then Julia came in and she gave her experience as a career restart fellow, moving to the Netherlands, and what I really found nice is that she told about how she was planning the project and how she wrote it, and also that she's learning new skills, and it's a new type of research for her. So again, it's really more than just doing the research you're already good at. It's really something more. Then Therese we had a thorough look at how to write a good proposal, and just a very general advice I want to share with you is, of course, read all the relevant documents and guidelines and then follow them very closely when writing the proposal. Contact your national contact point for support when writing, and also let someone else read the proposal for advice, and then Also, Julia took up on that, this time with her evaluator's hat or persona. And she said, yeah, do this, but do this only after you've written your first draft of the proposal yourself, because it really has to be your own project. And she also said that you have to help the evaluators to be friendly to you. So I think that's a general good advice. You have to think they're really tired and, they have to like your proposal. And there should be, very importantly for the fellowships, the perfect match between you as a researcher, your supervisor and the host organizations you're moving to, and the research you want to do in your project. And, okay, and just the last advice, it's really, for a good proposal, just write your own career story and go for it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next session is workplace harassment. Do we have anybody who's a rapporteur from that session? Ooh. Okay. Do we have anybody who could actually give us a quick overview of the session who was there and would like to contribute? That would be great. Anybody at all? Workplace harassment. How many people were in the workplace harassment session? Nobody went. One. Would you like to give a quick synopsis? You don't have to. Okay. Okay, that's fine. So we'll move on to the widening participation.
He's coming.
Oh, you're coming. Come.
Hello. It was a very, very nice session, and it's the topic itself, as you understand, was very sensitive. And basically, we discuss about how we approach the harassment. When you say the harassment, first pops on sexual harassment, but there are different types of harassment which we discussed. And we also get really nice information about the approach of European Union Commission to the harassment and what can be done in the future. And basically, it was all about that, and it was a very nice session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next is widening participation in MCAA. Maya? Okay.
Hi all. We have a very productive session about widening participation. We discussed what are the widening countries, why are they widening countries, and EU policy framework of bridging the gap between the low performance and the high performance countries within the Horizon 2020. We had participants coming from the widening countries, researchers, and the national contact points. Thanks. So the widening countries. The European Commission has published a report of performances of different countries within the Horizon 2020, and there was a huge discrepancy between mostly Western European countries with a high participation within the Horizon 2020, and those countries that are participating very low, 0.3% in the Horizon 2020, and these are the countries mostly coming from the Middle European and Eastern European countries, except for the Portugal on the west and Benelux in the middle. So, and also some of the associated countries that are also included into these lower performing countries, or this is why European Commission refused to call them low performing countries. So this is why they are more known as the widening countries, or the widening participation program is how to include those countries to participate more in the Horizon 2020. Hope it clears.
Thank you. Okay, now we have mental health of researchers. Do we have a rapporteur? Okay. Does anybody want to give us an overview? Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yes, so it was a nice interactive section. We got some papers in different colors, and we were grouped in groups like a round table to discuss first what are our mental health problems, if any, then what strategies do we use to overcome this, and then what have we learned from each other. And different things turned out. In each group there was a facilitator who wrote down what he learned of us as well. And at the end we've got to log in with our mobile phones and answer some questions like in television at bingo, like how do we feel compared to other PhD students? This is where it turned out that it's only thought for PhD candidates and not also for postdocs. Also, there were a couple of them in the room. And I had to leave earlier, so I don't know what questions there were. But there were also about eating habits, like how healthy do we eat, how much do we exercise each week, and how much do we meet our friends, and if we are satisfied with how we meet our friends. And I guess that's rapporteurs will make available the results. They are from a group called TEAM, which is dealing with mental health of researchers in PhD studies.
Thank you. Thank you. And finally, we have Project Consensus, and I think Matt is going to maybe tell a few jokes too.
No. Gotta pay me for that. All right, yeah, so I had the pleasure of attending the Project Consensus session, and it's an update on the work of Stavros Skouros. Close enough. So Project Consensus is an automated polling system that's meant to verify claims made in the media and also provide scientific opinion to policymakers. And the idea is that he's going to use AI to identify experts in the scientific community, aka the Alumni Association, and then just send them a quick email asking them whether or not they think a particular claim is true or false and how confident they are in that. We had the pleasure of an EC rep in the session, and it actually spurred a very lively debate about the role of experts in a democracy, and it was a lot of fun. But I have to highlight a link here. Like any good democracy or computer program, the results are only as good as the input, and so I encourage everybody to go ahead and sign up for Project Consensus, and let's see how well we can really make this work. Now, I'll highlight the link, and it's in the description of the session.
So hungry. Who could possibly go wrong? Oh yeah. It's a big leap.
There you go, you're welcome. I think that's it, yeah?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and finally, can we just have the rapporteur for the summary of the day, please? No, we do have a few announcements. Regarding the gala dinner tonight, if you have not picked up your ticket, you have to pick it up as soon as possible at the registration desk. There are a lot of tickets that are unclaimed but have been reserved. And we also have a large waiting list. So please, if you're on the waiting list, bear with us and go to the registration desk. What time is it? 7:45. If you reserved a ticket and can't go, please tell them at the registration desk. And if you're on the waiting list, go to the restaurant at 7:30, okay? And we will try and distribute tickets which were unclaimed. Mustafa said there's about 80 people on the waiting list, but 100 unclaimed tickets, so 129. Including yours, Anyway, 128. Okay, 127. So we need to talk to the contractor about that. So I guess the only other thing I have to say, two things I have to say. One, also don't forget about the event tomorrow night, the Dark Side of Research. Please go online and reserve your ticket if you can. If you know you want to go, it's easier for us to manage numbers if we know ahead of time. And there's a link on Eventbrite. I won't put it up now. Okay, and voting for the poster sessions will start tonight on the Chatbird app. Is that correct? Chatbird?
Yeah, no, the Slido.
Slido app.
There's a room for best posters.
Okay, so the last thing I want to say is thank you everybody for sticking around. The last thing I want to say is thank you everyone for sticking around until the end. And it was really, I mean, this was an amazing day. I had so much feedback from everybody here about how good of an experience this was from many people. And thank you for making this day a success. And we hope it's as successful tomorrow. And Valerie, please come.
Sorry, I just need a minute. So for tomorrow at the Dark Side of Research, we would like to host a little open mic thing, meaning if you have comedy aspirations and want to try out for 3 minutes max, just let me know and we'll put you on stage for your 3 minutes of fame. Thank you. Enjoy the dinner.